Hey everybody, welcome back to Frontline. We have another e-panel, and with our the most e-panel appearances, Pat Shane is with us. He has the most e-panel appearances on our show. We actually created it for the Zenoscope e-panel, I think.
That's
when
how
it first
long
started.
ago. Yeah. It's been a
The
long
whole
time.
Zenoscope panel that we had. But let's let our guests introduce themselves. So I'll start with Pat himself.
Hi, you guys. I didn't know that I was the most frequent guest, but I'm honored, I'm humbled, and I'm moved.
Wow.
And this time he's brought his artist collaborator with him. And you, would you like to say who you are? And
Hi, yeah, I'm Emily Pearson. I'm the artist on Snap Flash Hustle.
okay, welcome both of you to the show. For anybody who's in the chat who doesn't know what an e-panel is, if you're new to the channel or whatever, this is essentially like a Comic-Con panel, except for everybody can come here. We don't have to wait in a long line. You don't have to get a maximum capacity level. If you want to ask a question, ask in the live chat. We'll try to get as many of your questions in as possible to the to Pat and Emily, and they're here to talk about their new Black Mask book, which is called Snap Flash Hustle. And Pat, when does it come out?
It comes out November 28th, but I can't start without saying, Emily, it's amazing to see the icon of your dog pop up when you talk.
I know it's exactly why I chose it.
It's so good, and it makes me think like when I go to conventions and I meet people who I talk to online, and I'm surprised that they have a face and they aren't just their like cartoon avatar,
like me.
Right? Well, we've seen your face before, Jay, but
yeah,
it's true. But yeah, Snap Flash Hustle is coming out November 28th from Black Mask. It is created by Emily and myself. It is about Instagram models using social media to hide their drug business in plain sight. And what we always go back to when we do these is because it's so easy. A site that we did an interview with used Breaking Bad meets Sex in the City as their little elevator pitch. Yeah, it's a nice, easily digestible thing that gets the vibe out there. I think that the book is totally different once you actually get to read it, but it's a good selling point,
Yeah, I got to read it. Actually, I read it today. I had a busy week, but I wanted to read this before we did the show, and yes. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was something was not out there.
I did not want to read it until the week of, because then I didn't want to because I want to review it, obviously. So I didn't want to forget what happened, and I wanted to be fresh. So I'm just like, I want to be the outside perspective for this interview. So you have someone who read the issue and someone who is waiting and anticipating to read the issue.
Yeah, which is something that Kat and I do when we do a show just with us two. One of us comes in hot, and one of us comes in it with having read it all, right, or seen it all. Yeah, so this way we have different viewpoints of it. So, Kat, you have a question for Pat?
I do. So my question is, what made you want to explore the world of New York models?
I mean, a bunch of things, one of the main things is that it's kind of going on trips with my wife Amy, who has worked as a model before, and seeing the various strange experiences and fun, interesting kind of experiences through her point of view. But also, I found such a common ground between what Amy was experiencing and what her peers were experiencing from what I, as a comics writer, do. So I saw this world of modeling, of sponsorships, of monetization of yourself online as very similar to what content creators do, because what is it but content? We're all doing very much the same thing. So I thought it was just an interesting world to explore, sort of because it's in this weird kind of new ground where all online creators are working on selling themselves in some sort of way. And it's this sort of new industry of selling the self and monetizing the self that that many people don't quite understand yet. So I wanted to dive headfirst into it through that.
That's a really cool concept, I think. Yeah, and so new because of social media, especially because you're using Instagram and brand building. Like, it's such a weird world, a word to say brand. You're a brand for yourself, especially as comic book creators. You don't think about that, or writers in general. Yeah, that's a really interesting concept. I think anyone could really relate to with social media. How about you, Jay? What's your next question?
Yeah, actually, I have a question for Emily. To get into this book, what sources are you using for inspiration for your art?
A lot of different things. K-pop, a lot of that. Different music videos, fashion models either on Instagram or on Pinterest or wherever I can find them. A lot of it is I'm trying to make it look very familiar but glamorous.
Mhm.
So very colorful colors and super fashionable outfits, but it's not like something you wouldn't ever see in real life. So stuff that's exaggerated but somewhat realistic.
Yeah, I was going to mention about the colors because they're very vibrant and it makes the book pop more. I think like it makes it stand out even more than the story. From like what we see out there, because normally when a story is like this, it's normally a darker tone. But having the story, because you have a darker tone story, with drugs and all that.
You also think about like when it gets to modeling and acting. I don't know. I always think about the movie Perfect Blue, like, and also like Black Swan and stuff like that. So it's like, I don't know. I feel like with these type of stories,
normally you get like a darker tone with it, but with the writing is Pat's always does a great job with writing. I love it. But the art also makes it stand out more too, because it is that vibrant color that makes you say, "Oh, what's this?" And it does, like, each page comes alive a little bit more because of the vibrant colors in it. So that's why I was really wondering where you got the inspiration from, because it was something that you don't normally see with this type of a story, but I really do like it. I think it works really well with it.
Thank you. Yeah, I think if you read this story, having like a very dark and like gray world wouldn't have fit very well for a story like this, because the that's not what the characters are like at all. So yeah, I think for something like what Pat wrote, more colorful colors and pinks and stuff like that is a lot more appropriate.
Okay, you have another question?
Yeah, this one's for Pat. What made you want to pitch this to Black Mask instead of doing this for your own imprint and doing the Kickstarter route?
That's a great question. I guess the answer is that my philosophy is that any idea that I commit to with an artist, I'm going to get it made no matter what. There's with Kickstarter and my success through there, and the way that I've found a means by which to support my titles. My philosophy is always that if I have an artist who is dedicated enough to collaborate with me to make a book happen, the book is gonna happen no matter what. So if Black Mask didn't pick up Snap Flash Hustle, I would have worked with Emily to either get it elsewhere or to crowdfund it for sure. Because just seeing the artwork come in, there was no way I could have lived in the world after having seen that the book doesn't exist, and that's actually how my whole crowdfunding path happened. Destiny New York, I was pitching around a bunch of places, and it almost found a home somewhere. And when that deal fell through, I started thinking, I was like, you know what? I wanted that deal so bad, but if it went through, I would have gotten my title tied up there, and it would have been at most 5 issues or so, But now I get to do it as long as I want. So what I have done is I have kind of catered my pitches to stories that could complete in 4 issues. So Snap Flash Hustle, we pitched that around because that could be a one and done story in 4 issues. However, if the sales and reception are good enough, there could always be more, So, but with with some titles like Destiny New York, that always had to be a longer book. But Snap Flash Hustle, anyone who reads the 4 issues will be completely satisfied. So that is definitely why we decided to pitch it more toward Black Mask, because it is something that it is self-contained. And the truth is too that Black Mask is just a cool home for a book like this. Matt Pizzolo believes in ideas that are entertaining stories, but also have more to tell and more to ask of the audience beyond just the story. I was just talking to our previous podcast hosts about the sort of dichotomy between Breathless and Snap Flash Hustle. About both are kind of about drugs, and he made a good point that I didn't think of. That Breathless is about legal drugs that are sold through the government, and Snap Flash Hustle is about the criminal side of things. And I know that too. When Emily was working on The Wild with Vita, that story also has a very an undercurrent and a core of social commentary, and that's a big strength of all Black Mask's book for the most part.
For sure.
And, that's why I thought that they'd be a good home. But honestly, I would trust Black Mask with any of my stuff. They're great.
Yeah, they're a really great imprint. I've enjoyed a lot of their books over there. Cool. Let's go to Jay.
Pat, you and Emily came up with this concept together. How did that come about? Was it like at a Comic-Con or like via messages back and forth? How did this initial brainchild come into existence? And that both of you can answer that, actually.
Yeah, DMs pretty much. It started as a conversation on Twitter, and the real catalyst for finding who the characters were was when Emily sent me the characters drawn. I was able to like meet them as if they were fully formed people, and sort of like dictate who I thought they were based on what Emily drew.
Emily, how did you come up with like the initial designs and all that? For Pat to say.
Just kind of thinking about, a base character and what I would want her to look like, and then kind of revolving the other characters around making them look different enough where you could recognize them out of the blue from each other. But also just, I was thinking about like the different types of models that there were. So, people who were into more girly fashion or more punk, or like 90s giant fur clothing. So stuff like that. Just kind of whose fashion styles would have what. And I kind of wanted to fit a character for each one of those.
Very cool. You have a question?
Yeah. So, Pat, when did you decide Emily was the perfect person for this project?
I mean, it was more that Emily picked the project. We were talking on Twitter, and I don't even remember what other books I brought up, but I had a few concepts. It was very, very beginning stage stuff, because with pitches especially, I like to develop that with an artist from jump and see what they connect to. And I mean, the most common thing I ask is like, what do you want to draw? And sometimes I'll have nothing before that. And then based on the answer to that question, I'll start to develop things. But Snap Flash Hustle, that was a concept that Emily liked best of what we talked about. And I really couldn't picture anyone else drawing that but Emily. So it was very much made for Emily.
Jay.
Yeah, you have a very unique social how I say a relationship here. You have a very unique relationship here with the main characters. What made you go with that route with the characters?
It wasn't something I'd seen done before in comics or in much media, and it was just a thing that I wanted to explore. It was, and plus it's an important part of where Haley is as a character in the place that we meet her. You know, she's in this place of sort of transition of being excited but not knowing how this fits into her life. And I think that is that's happening in her love life. It's happening now in her job with the decision that she makes toward the end of the book. And I just wanted Haley in this place where she's sort of on the brink of things, you know, where she's trying to make a living out of her art. She's trying to make this relationship work. She's trying to not go bankrupt. And when we meet her, she's very much teetering on the edge of all of that, right? So with this decision that she makes toward the end, that sort of begins the arc of the book, she kind of makes this big gamble, right? That she sort of just throws her life into this possible big positive what if. And I just wanted her to be very unsure on all angles. And yeah, I mean, the truth is too that it's just interesting, you know, it's an interesting idea.
Cool. Kat.
So this is my last question, and I'll point it to Emily. Can you tell us a little bit about your collaboration with Pat, like your process? You know, Pat was telling us about how it kind of all started, but how throughout the 4 issues was that collaboration? Was it more just like I read the script and, you know, got the images, or was there a lot of conversation with Pat?
I would send Pat like a K-pop video about every week until he told me to stop talking to him. It was just pretty straightforward. Pat would write a script for me. I think I'm drawing this second one right now. So Pat drew a script for me. I'd start penciling it and then send it to him for approval for pencils, inks, colors. And it's been really good so far. He lets me change a lot. If I have a specific idea in mind for how I want a page layout to go or something like that, I'll just kind of change it and mess with it. And he's always okay with it, which is really nice because I do that a lot. So it's pretty straightforward, but we're pretty open to seeing each other's ideas. So I think it works out pretty well.
Absolutely. And can I just add too that what's amazing about Emily and our process here is that it's so conducive to the way that I write. I love to write conversations. I love to write just characters talking and being people for pages on end. And I love pages with unconventional and high panel counts. And in my experience, I mean, I must have worked with since I started working in this industry, I must have worked with 100 or more artists, and it's not common for an artist to enjoy that, you know. And Emily likes the character conversational scenes more than say any action. And also, I find that in the pages where I have a lower panel count, Emily tends to add panels, which is great to me. You know, that's what I secretly want. I just don't write it as to not be the asshole writer demanding too much of the artist.
Yeah, like the 12 panel pages.
12 panels for 22 pages.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's great. Jay, do you have more questions? Cool.
For both of you, how much has the art influenced the story? Because you said that's where it initially came from, like you saw her renderings and all that, but how much did it initially affect the story? Like, how much did her style, Emily's style, affect the way that you wrote these characters, or where you're going to take these characters?
I mean, 100%. It would be if I hadn't seen the art to begin with, the characters would all be different people. If I didn't see number 1 before number 2 was toward the end of being written, number 2 would be different. The plot would be different if I hadn't seen the covers. You know, it's just everything comes from the art first. And I think that is, I'm not sure if it's the most common way to work, but I found that it was definitely conducive to making the best book here. Because I feel like when a musician a singer or a rapper writes their lyrics, they usually write over the beat, right? And not the reverse, you know. So I think that the fact that we had a foundation in Emily's character designs and aesthetic definitely shaped what the story could be. Because if I had written just this like dark, serious crime drama that was just like kind of stark and not conversational, it wouldn't have fit with what Emily was doing. So the fact that I saw what Emily was doing first, and she sort of felt the vibe of my writing through the way that I responded to her art with the character descriptions. It's just been a very I think that both the art and the writing have sort of hand in hand been influencing the other, you know.
Nice symbiotic relationship there.
Yeah.
What would either one of you want to tell someone who's like going to their comic shop, and you know, what would you want to tell them to get them to pre-order this now, so this way they would you know, their shop will put it aside for them in their
and pre-order books, guys. That really helps. So go pre-order if you can,
yes.
Especially with books that are indie like Black Mask. You know, they don't order as much as like even the Image or DC and Marvel. So please, like if you can, you really want this book, it helps the creators if you you pre-order it.
Absolutely. I mean, what I would say, and I don't speak for Emily here, but what I would say is that if you don't pre-order, I'll find you. I'll discover where you live, and I'll be there with copies of the book.
That's good. I mean, that's what I would like.
You might not get people to pre-order because they might be like, "Hey, I can get a delivery from the writer. Free delivery from the writer."
I would say, though, I think that's one thing that creators obviously very much understand and try to break the boundary, but like readers just do not. Especially in the community, it's just like, you know, this medium. It's very hard to get sales, so it's just like it's so important, especially books like this. This is not Wolverine. Like you could get your Wolverine, but these type of books, like, got to tell your comic books.
They thrive on the pre-orders and word of mouth, honestly. Emily, how about you? What would your advice be to people to get them to go and pre-order it and get their shops to, you know, get more of them in?
I mean, so pre-ordering will help a lot. If you're looking for a reason to get the book, it's got a really cool story to it. It's very, I feel like there's something in it for everyone. It is a crime drama. There's character driven parts to it. It's got really cool fashion. It's got like beautiful ladies. Like, I don't know. It's like if you don't like any of those things, maybe don't get the book. But also
don't say that. Just get it anyway.
Yeah, just get it anyways.
Buy it for someone else. Buy it for someone else who might like it.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I mean, it's a very versatile book. So, whatever you're into, it's got a little bit of social media lifestyle. It's got a little bit of crime lifestyle. It's pretty cool.
And you guys should just be buying more indies. Like, again, that's where the support needs to be. So buy more indies. Give them a chance.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I think that we designed this book in a way that you know, anyone can go on Netflix and enjoy, say, a Breaking Bad, a Love, Stranger Things. There's something about those stories that feels like they're for anybody. And there are a lot of books that I do that I come on here and I pitch to straight up horror fans. I pitch to fantasy fans. This is a book for everybody. Maybe everybody of a certain age and up, you know. But no, Emily is 100% right that this book is designed to speak to anyone who is human, and especially anyone who has ever worried about the number in their bank account.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I was gonna say, I'm not a Instagram model girl who's into the drug lifestyle. You know, that's not me. So it's not my demographic. But I still found something in this that I can relate to and I can enjoy out of it. and that's something that I like, because it also it has a little social commentary in there, but it's not a preaching thing. Like, you're not trying to preach to people, you're just making it a very realistic,
which is a good story.
Story.
That's a
It's a very
sign
real
of a good
character.
story.
Yeah, they're very real characters, which is something I really loved about it, was that these are characters I can see actual people being, you know?
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's the whole point. You know, I think that Emily creates real people with her art. I'm trying to create real people with my words. And yeah, we want people to see themselves in these characters. Absolutely. And for people to find something universal to relate to them, because like you said, even if you're not, say, a model, or even if you know nothing about modeling, I think that if you've ever been concerned about where the next check is coming from, you can relate to Haley and buy into her journey here for sure.
And what's the stat? Like, also there's the personal stuff where, you know, even if you're not in the type of relationship that she's in, you still have the insecurities about a relationship. People can relate to that. There's the interaction with other, you know, people that you're meeting. There's so many levels of ways that you can connect to these characters. And again, I have nothing in common with these characters, but I do find a common ground with them, which is, you know, a really great way of, you know, a great thing to have in a book that you want. You want that, especially if you're a writer or an artist. You want someone to be able to connect to it in some way, shape, or form, even if they're not exactly like those characters. And I really did like it in this one. So I thought it was a really well done book. I'm really looking forward to the second issue, and I'm not sure if Kat's going to be reviewing this for our Frontline reviews, or am I going to be reviewing it?
I don't know. We'll have to see. I know I'll definitely be reviewing it for my channel, but we'll definitely have one of us review it. Maybe, I don't know if it might be better from a female point of view, but we'll see.
That's why I said I want to wait till you read it before I say it. But one of us will be on our Frontline reviews, which is every Friday on comicfrontline.com. And just one more question for you guys each. Who is the character that you personally relate to the most out of in the book?
Wow, that's a good question. No, I want to hear what you say, actually.
I'm trying to think of, just based off the first issue, I'd say probably Haley the most. Either Haley or her husband Jamie, maybe. Haley's just I've always found myself relating to the main character the most, but Haley's just kind of like everyone you meet on the street. She's a normal person. She's going through normal stuff. And you know, as like someone who's a freelancer, it's really easy to kind of relate to how she's dealing with her debt and paying for her life based on trying to make a living out of what she loves to do. So it's, from a creator standpoint, is definitely the one that I connect to the most.
Oh, how about you, Pat?
All right, so two characters. First off, Haley for sure. Yeah, Haley. A lot of her problems and a lot of what she's going through is pulled from life, from my life, and I do relate to her in many ways as a creator who's passionate, trying to make a living off of their art. And yeah, I think that her choice toward the end, I mean, she makes the choice that she makes for a lot of reasons. And I think that her reasoning there is a choice that I relate to, you know. I've definitely made compromises in trying to make a living off of my art, and I justify all of that. I wouldn't change a thing. And Haley for sure has done that as well. And I think, I very much see myself in her shoes and sort of a kindred soul. And the other character for sure is Coral. Coral is someone who I think that you can summarize her actually referenced this. I'm not sure what context I did talk about this in, but there's this amazing quote by the rapper 21 Savage. And the quote is, if you cross me once, it's fuck you for life. And Coral is very, very much that. She's the epitome of petty, and she doesn't want to be told that someone knows better because she's confident that she knows best about what's best for her and for her business. And I think she's right. She is a lot more vicious than I am. She's definitely she is she has a different pathology than I do, for sure. But in her schemes, I definitely relate to her as someone who sticks to her vision, I'll say.
Yeah, I thought she was an interesting character. I liked her, especially because she appears one way and when we first meet her, but then by the end you see more of her true self being revealed.
Right.
So I like that. I like that about her because at first she's saw as just this one-off type of character that you're like, oh, okay, we've seen her before, and then you're like, flip it, and she's like this whole other person. So I like that. I thought that was really interesting. She's the one I think you can relate more to. I can't think of her name right now. The main character,
Haley. Yeah,
Haley. But Coral's the one that I'm most intrigued with.
Yeah.
So I think you can relate to Haley, but I'm more intrigued with Coral because she has something there that you're like, I want to know what it is. But at the same time, you're like a little bit scared of what she could do. So I like that.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So where can what else other than this are you two working on together or separately? Anything else that you want to let people know that you're got coming out, and where can people find you? So I'll start with Pat and then Emily.
Sure. I mean, right now, as far as other things that I'm working on, I have a Kickstarter live right now. It's for a book called Spooky Girls. It's a Halloween-y type book. We have 4 artists working on 4 comics in 1 graphic novel. The stories are Jenny the Werecat, Vicky Slime, Punk Teen Demon Queen, and Tarantula Twins. Each one has a different feel, but the overall vibe is sort of like Lumberjanes meets Freaks and Geeks with a side of Goosebumps. It's very much for the horror fan and just the comics fan of the 90s and today. And it's really fun, beautifully drawn book. And that's going on right now. It's already funded, so every pledge is just a guarantee that you'll get the content. Beyond that, though, I do want to focus on Snap Flash Hustle. Say get to the comic stores while you can. Pre-order now. Issues 1, 2, and 3 are all on pre-order. So tell your shop owner that you want those books. And as far as me, you can find me online at Pat Shan pretty much everywhere.
And Emily, how about you?
Yeah, so this is kind of the main thing I can talk about right now. Other than that, I just finished a creator-owned another Black Mass series called The Wilds with Vita Ayala, which is going to trade soon, which will be cool. So if you want to check that out, you can check that out at your local comic store on Comixology, anything like that. And then you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at emishlyart, EMISHLY. And you can see some Snap Flash Hustle panels there too while you're at it.
Cool. Again, we want to thank you both for coming on here, and we want to extend an invitation if either one of you ever have another project you want to come on and talk about. We open up the floor for you guys anytime. Always a pleasure to see you, Pat, and a pleasure to meet you, Emily. So thank you both for coming on here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I mean, I love what you guys do. I'll definitely be back. I appreciate you all. I think this is a great platform, and thanks for having us. Thanks for helping us promote the book.
No problem. And again, everybody go out and pick up Snap Flash Hustle #1 on November 28th from Black Mass. Pre-order it today. When you go pick up your comics tomorrow, tell them you want to put that on your pull list for November 28th.
Yes, definitely do that. And also remember, we'll be on in a few minutes after this
Yes.
to do the small news pieces we have and the top 5, which Brant should be on for that. So we'll see.
Yeah. So come right back. Hit the notification bell in case you want to get, if you haven't already, so this way you get that notification that we're going live again. So see you in a few minutes.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you